God, this writing is so good. Man, no wonder they know they are. This is my review of Invincible Season 4, Episode 4, Hum. And honestly, man, I didn't expect it from this episode to be the one that's sticking with me so far. This episode, they send Mark to hell. Yes, literally hell, to go and help Demon Darkblood and Satan fight a war against an enemy most people have never heard. But the real question isn't really what's happening down there. It's what this episode quietly reveals about Mark's state of mind, about what kind of hero he's becoming, about the conversations he's still avoiding back on Earth, and especially in regards to Eve. Okay, I'll be honest, right at the beginning, I was completely lost of where the storyline was going, but once the pacing kicked in, then this episode for me hit really hard, which I wasn't expecting. I'm going to try and do a 10-minute breakdown, no spoilers, of the episode. I'm going to talk about the 3 biggest things in the episode I feel works so well, the lore, the character work, and the moral questions it raises, and why I think this is one of the most important episodes of the season so far. So sit back, buckle up, get some popcorn, we're going to hell, baby. So this episode kicks off in hell, and right away, I want to say I love that the show doesn't do the usual fire and brimstone. Instead, hell feels more like a different layer of the world of Invincible, almost borrowing Greek mythologies, you know, like the Bronze Age, the Golden Age, and the Iron Age. And you can definitely feel the eras of history has been carved into the landscape. We meet Damien Darkblood. They're fighting alongside his eternal enemies. They are lava creatures called the Veil. And then we meet Satan, voiced by Bruce Campbell. Casting is perfect. Love what they've done here. I thought the episode might head into more of a full evil plot direction, but it turns out it's actually more layered than that. It made me stop to think the idea that maybe what we call bad isn't always bad. If Satan isn't really the villain here, and there's something even worse than that, what does it say about the show's definition of evil? Then we find out why Damien and Satan need Mark's help. The demon side is in serious trouble. The real threat here is Viltrumite, the lava queen, and her people, the Vile, who have an endless hunger for destruction and chaos. For me, I love how the show used that as a great way to show levels to evil. Now, when you think about it, there's bad and then there's really bad. I mean, the idea of helping Satan is not heroic, but if this Queen wins, it's worse for everyone. Mark is in hell fighting an ancient war that isn't even his, but you're thinking, is this really about saving the world, or is there something else afoot in the schemes of what's going on? And then Mark solves that situation and is now back on Earth. And I think I really love this scene, just for what it is. Mark gets to talk to the guy who makes his costumes. He's asking him, putting some ideas out there and colours, and trying to discuss with him what might be the best way forward. And it allows him, for Mark, opportunity to think. And I love where he tells him he's worried, he feels like he's going to become his father. And this costume maker guy basically points out to him the fact that you're thinking about it says that you're probably not going to become him. I love the line because it just helped me to know that if you're willing to have empathy and guilt for the things you've done, maybe then you're not as far gone as you think. Unfortunately, Mark's guilt goes much deeper than that, and I know this show, and I reckon this season, Mark's going to be put in situations where his empathy will not be enough to keep him from crossing that line. So Mark gets summoned back to hell due to his connection to his father, and Mark is then asked to help Damien and Satan to take down the Lava Queen. And yeah, it pretty much works out how you would expect it to happen. The fight happens. I will say I do love how this episode is used to help Mark reflect on what he's done. Definitely, he knows he's done wrong. He knows violence isn't the ideal answer to solving the problem. And I just love how the episode really allows for certain things to really shine through, that sometimes people can't solve certain situations through clean solutions. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. You know, you can't always use water. But the question is, how much was this really about saving the world when it came to Mark being involved? Or was it for Mark to process his guilt through violence? And then the fight itself. And honestly, the way Mark handles the Queen says so much about him without even using any dialogue. I mean, the fact that he gets upset because he thinks he's hurting someone who basically can't die. And then it almost becomes a strange kind of therapy through violence. Now, I know, it sounds crazy, right? I feel that the episode was pushing Mark to think differently about what he's doing. He's not just punching a villain. He's processing everything he's been through, every death, so far every mistake, in the most literal way possible. And the animation, I have to say, for this sequence was generally some of the best of the season so far. Now, after everything that's just happened in hell, Mark is going to go back to Earth, I believe, a different person. But the episode doesn't give him any time to process that, because back at home, things are about to get complicated. So, I do love how Eve's storyline also finally gets some continuation. She's about to tell Mark about being pregnant. You can feel the conversation has been really good. The conversation is going well. But then Nolan and Allen show up at the worst possible time. And I have to say, this is perfect timing. Obviously, I mean, I loved it. It was funny, frustrating, and dramatic in one go. Honestly, I would have been easily happy with the episode ending with Eve telling him that he's pregnant. That would have been perfect. But to bring Nolan, Allen, the alien, right in, making the ending feel even more chaotic. I mean, I definitely feel the show is deliberately refusing to let any emotional moments breathe or any of that. And you know what? Truly frustrating in the best possible way. I loved it. So, man, this is crazy. So, wait, Eve is pregnant, Nolan is back, and Alan's in the circle? What happens when all of these pieces finally collide? Yeesh. Personally, I love this extra layer that they're adding to Eve's arc. I remember a few seasons ago about future Eve that came from the future and told Mark to stop messing around with her if he cares for her. And so I'm wondering if this pregnancy is going to lead to something different than what is known in the comics. Either way, I definitely feel like it's an interesting development. This series is doing a great job of always keeping you guessing, even if you know the source material. If the show is really diverging from the comics, what else is coming that no one is even ready for? And overall, I really appreciate what this episode is always circling back to and presenting the same question. What does it mean to actually be a hero? Look, Mark doesn't want to kill, and he doesn't want to become like his father. But the world of Invincible keeps putting him in situations where the right answer isn't clear. Think about it. Helping Satan fight an ancient evil isn't heroic in the traditional sense, but letting that evil win is a far worse scenario. The episode doesn't want to give you neat answers. It just shows you the messiness of all of it and trusts you, the individual or the viewer, to participate in that. Now, if Mark keeps making these choices that blur the lines between hero or something else, where is this season going to leave him? Yeah, definitely this is Mark's first real moral complex situation. Eve's pregnancy is a massive thing to be worried about, and hell opens up the world and shows us the Invincible universe is something completely different. But then the question needs to be asked, where is this season going to take all this information next? If you want to see how we got here, click on my review of episode 3 right here. And let's talk about the episode that broke Mark before this one pushed him even further. I want to say thank you so much for checking on this. Please let me know in the comments below how you felt about this episode. And yeah, please remember, if you can dream, you can be. Peace.